All right. Are you an American or an Americant? I want to believe I'm an American. Now, I've heard people over the years, particularly younger people, they would say things like if they made a mistake or something. They'd say, "Oh well, I have ADD, I have dyslexia, I have allergies, so I can't, I can't be held accountable for that." What? That's ridiculous. And there's a huge list of these things. Oh, I got this such and such disorder, so I got, dyslexia, I got dyspepsia, I got gas, so I can't do this, you know. And I was wondering about like how many of these kids in this modern era. I think about your kids, if you have kids, but I also think about my friends' kids who are at that age where like almost everyone gets diagnosed with something. You know what I mean? Where especially like young boys, they come out of school and like the teachers always, oh, he's real hyperactive, he's got ADHD. And so, no, that's just boys being boys. I don't know if you know that, being a woman, and that's the problem. The schools are run by women, and they don't understand boys at all. And so there's like, oh, there's obviously something wrong with him because he won't sit still for 8 hours a day as a young boy. And so they say, oh, he's got ADHD. And so that kid goes on the rest of his life thinking, well, I have ADHD, so that limits my life in some way. And I don't think you should do that. Even if you have been diagnosed with something like that, I don't think you should let yourself be limited by the concept of it. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, I could, if I had been growing up in today's culture, they would have probably called me a high functioning autistic because I was quite nonverbal until I was like, I don't know, 14 or so. I didn't talk a whole lot. And if you went to middle school with me and you clicked on my channel and here you are, you're like, wow, this guy talks a lot. He ended up talking a lot. Or I thought he was retarded. He didn't talk at all. And he was weird, So I could have been diagnosed along those lines if I'd been growing up in today's culture. But even if I'd been like diagnosed, I wouldn't look at it as something that's going to hold me back. Like somebody says, I think you're autistic. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? It's like, it means you're awkward with people. You're odd. You're eccentric. That's all it really means. You're odd. You're eccentric. If you can still learn how to do things. Like I wasn't very verbal until I was like 14. Then I found my voice. Literally, I learned how to use my voice. And I became quite, I don't want to say good at it because 215 subscribers, but I became like dedicated to mastering it as much as possible because I had been so nonverbal. Even if you went to high school with me, you're like, he never talked this much. It's like you watch an hour of this show, it's like I've never heard him speak that much ever. Because I wanted to get into radio. I wanted to master this, what I perceived to be a flaw of my character. And so I learned how to do it. And you could say like, and these kids may grow up and somebody calls them and says, well, you're high functioning autistic, when you're really just odd or eccentric. And the next thing you know, you're 18 years old and you're like, I need to do something with my life. I can't get into college because I'm autistic. That's why I couldn't get good grades because I'm autistic. I couldn't get good test scores because I'm autistic. I can't join the military because I'm autistic. And I remember I told this one guy a while back he was about 18 thinking about joining the Navy. He's like, oh, I got, dyslexia. And it's like, don't tell him. He's like, what? Don't tell him. He's like, don't tell the government? And it's like, yeah, see how long you can get away with it. Worst comes to worst. No, it wasn't dyslexia. It was asthma. He said asthma. And it's like, is it severe? And he's like, no, it's just like sometimes I get, well, don't tell him, don't limit your life. You know what I mean? And I have even family members who'll be like, well, I have ADD. And so this is why I can't do this and do that. And it's like, you're limiting yourself. I guess maybe it's just I read too many superhero comic books and stuff like that. It's like my problem is I wasn't powerful enough. I was like, oh, if you just give me a little bit of Superman's power, Lord God, give me a little bit of Superman's power, and I would do things you wouldn't believe. Instead, I'm stuck in this Batman-like body with, admittedly much fatter, and much more out of shape, but I have all the power that Batman has, all the capability of Batman, and we all do. You just need to learn to master your mind and like don't like trip yourself up with all these, you know, diagnoses and problems that other people perceive or even you perceive. You know, you don't stop working out just because your muscles start to hurt. You know what I mean?